Hey up guys! So today's movie I'm reviewing is the latest film from Paul Thomas Anderson called Licorice Pizza. Why is it called Licorice Pizza? Honestly, after seeing this film, I think I'm further away from understanding the title, but fellow film vlogger Zach Pope, be sure to check out his channel, I'll leave a link in the description down below. He explained to me that Licorice Pizza was the name of a chain of record stores in the United States during the 70s when this film is set. But yes, again, Licorice Pizza, I'm not sure how it's applicable to this film other than the soundtrack is full of 70s bangers. But I will admit, it is a pretty cool title. It's kind of like Gunpowder Milkshake. It's just fun to say. Anyway, plot-wise, Licorice Pizza is a coming-of-age romantic comedy about a 25-year-old Jewish girl called Alana, played in this film by Alana Haim, and a 15-year-old aspiring actor called Gary Valentine, who's played in this film by Cooper Hoffman, who is the son of the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman. And that's about it when it comes to plot. So what did I think of Licorice Pizza then? Well, let me just start by saying that when it comes to Paul Thomas Anderson's work, I'm not the biggest fan. Like, I wasn't that keen on Phantom Thread or Inherent Vice, but I did enjoy Boogie Nights and There Will Be Blood, so typically it's a bit hit or miss when it comes to his movies. For me anyways, I know a lot of people really love him as a filmmaker. When it comes to Licorice Pizza, I do think this is one of Anderson's more accessible films. And I will say, during the first half of this film, I was really into it. I was laughing out loud a lot, and I was really invested in the relationship between Alana and Gary. The actors had a lovely, awkwardly endearing chemistry, which was nice to watch. But somewhere around the halfway point in this film, the grip that this film had on me started to loosen. I thought that the second half of this movie was a bit unfocused. The further the story went, the less interested I became. There were some scenes in the second half which were entertaining, such as everything that Bradley Cooper was doing as John Peters. He was really good in this, but on reflection, if I think to myself, if we'd have taken Bradley Cooper's scenes out of the film, would it affect the story in any way? And the sad answer is, not really. Like, don't get me wrong, anything with Bradley Cooper in is a bonus, but in terms of how his subplot affected the story and what it contributed to the overall film, it just felt a bit unnecessary. Also, the fact that this iconic clip from the trailer is reduced to a clip in the end credits is a genuine hate crime. I was really looking forward to seeing that scene in that film because I needed context as to why he might be smashing up cars, but it never comes. So it got me thinking, if they're not going to feature that iconic clip of Bradley Cooper smashing up cars, then why feature Bradley Cooper in the story at all? But another part of me is thinking, I do love Bradley Cooper and I enjoyed what he did bring to the film. It's just what the character brought to the story was pretty pointless. But it's not just Bradley Cooper, there's lots of recognizable faces showing up for short and sweet roles in this. There's some great work from Sean Penn, John Waits, Christine Elbasol, John Michael Higgins, Skylar Gisondo, and Benny Safdie. However, I did think that Maya Rudolph and Mary Elizabeth Ellis were a little shortchanged on their characters. Would have liked a little bit more from them. But also, did anybody else spot John C. Reilly in this film? It's pretty much a blink and you'll miss him performance, but if you did spot him, let me know in that comment section down below. Also, while we're on it, if you could hit that little thumbs up button for me, I would really appreciate it. I will say this, Licorice Pizza is easily one of the best looking and best sounding films of 2021. This is such a pretty film. The cinematography by Anderson and Michael Bauman is fantabulous. It's so beautifully lit and inviting. They really capture that wholesome, nostalgic valley vibe of the 1970s. It's so well shot. The opening scene just glows with warmth, representing the hopeful optimism and young love of the main characters. And Paul Thomas Anderson shows off his directing skills with so many one-takes. They must have done so much rehearsal because this was shot in actual film and it's far more expensive to shoot long takes over and over and over again when you're shooting on actual film. So it just makes the long one takes even more impressive. It's just very beautiful, subtle cinematography. It's one of my favorites of the year. The sound is also meticulous, both the sound design and the soundtrack. There was a lot of emphasis on sound in this film, particularly in the scenes involving the waterbed. There's this great scene where Alana has to reverse a truck all the way down these Hollywood hills, and there's no music involved, it's literally just the sound of the truck backing up, and it's quite nerve-wracking, but it's really well done. But yeah, the soundtrack is stacked. You've got hits from Nina Simone, Paul McCartney, Bing Crosby, David Bowie, The Doors, Sonny and Cher, and that's just to name a few. Although if I'm being honest, I'm not sure I can say that each of the song selections served anything more than just a reminder of the fact that we're in the 70s. When you compare it to another recent film, which was also set in the 70s and featured a lot of 70s bangers, Cruella, the songs in that soundtrack, there was a lot more thought put into them, at least lyrically speaking. They did match whatever was going on the screen. But in Licorice Pizza, yes, it's nice to hear David Bowie's Life on Mars, but does it fit the scene or do anything to elevate the scene? Not really. Also, this is Jonny Greenwood's third score of the year, but I think it's probably his least memorable when you compare it to Spencer and The Power of the Dog. This is a film which relies heavily on the nostalgia of pop songs from that era to take you back to the 70s. But speaking of being taking you back to the 70s, the sets and the costumes for this movie are also brilliant. It was very accurate, living in a world of rotary phones, waterbeds, and flared jeans. Also, I forgot to talk about the leading performances, but Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman are both really good together. As the film progressed, Cooper Hoffman's character got a lot less interesting. His whole pinball palace place, I don't know, just wasn't that interesting. But Haim really does get to shine. It really is her movie. And she's a beautifully messy character. I really liked her. She does a really good job to say this is like her first ever acting role. Apparently Paul Thomas Anderson wrote the part for her specifically because the character is called Alana. Also, fun fact, Alana Haim's real life family plays her character's family in this movie. There's a great scene around a dinner table, and that's her real life mum and dad and her sisters from the rock band Haim. Always nice when you get to bring your family to work. Shall we talk about the Oscars? How do I think Licorice Pizza will do? Here's the thing, Paul Thomas Anderson's work does tend to get nominated at the Oscars. He just never wins. He's been nominated himself 8 previous times for writing, directing, producing, and yet he's never won. He's kind of in the same boat as Kenneth Branagh, a jack of all trades, been nominated plenty but never won. Could next year's Oscars be where that changes for either of them? Honestly, I'm not sure Licorice Pizza is the film that's gonna get him his first Oscar. I think he will be nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and I think he'll probably get a nomination for Best Picture. But as for winning those, I don't think it's as likely, but I'll discuss in detail, in depth more in my Oscar predictions video. But will he get nominated for Best Director? I don't think so, but there is definitely a chance because he has been nominated for directing previously for Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood, but it's just such a stacked year for Best Director. I don't think that Paul Thomas Anderson is a surefire thing like Jane Campion or Steven Spielberg. So he's a definite maybe. But I can see Licorice Pizza being a film that the Academy quite likes. It is, after all, a film about actors, it's set in Hollywood. As for performances, can Alana Haim break into the Best Actress race? She's actually in a similar boat to Rachel Zegler from West Side Story. Both give great breakout performances in potential Best Picture nominees, but their newcomerness might be what's holding them back from getting a nomination. They're competing against more established names: Chastain, Gaga, Coleman, Stewart, Kidman, Hudson. I personally think Haim is on the peripheries of a nomination, like she's just on the outside of getting into the 5, but I don't think she will get a nomination. Cooper Hoffman for Best Actor? No, sorry. Good performance, but not a chance. As for the other Cooper, as in Bradley Cooper, a lot of people seem certain he's going to get into Best Supporting Actor for this role. Me, I'm not so sure. While I will admit he is brilliant in his very short amount of screen time, I'm not convinced it's enough to make it in. However, he is Bradley Cooper, and he's beloved by the Academy. Been nominated 8 previous times, still no wins. He does have a lot of good faith with them, and he is memorable in the film, that does matter. Plus, he's had a good year with Nightmare Alley as well. That stuff does come into play when they come to make votes. He's another solid maybe for me. I'd like to see Licorice Pizza get a cinematography nomination. I just love the way this film looks, but it's not as grand or show-stopping of cinematography as, say, like Dune, Titan, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, or Spencer. So because it's a lot more subtle, the cinematography, it might fly under the radar of some voters. Same goes with sound though. I would love to see this film get a nomination for Best Sound. Johnny Greenwood will probably get 2 nominations for Best Score, but not for Licorice Pizza. He'll get nominated for The Power of the Dog and Spencer. Although it would be cool to see one composer nominated 3 times in the same year. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you think Licorice Pizza's Oscar chances are? Let me know in the comment section down below. So let's ask them 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch this again? I would say this. I would probably watch Licorice Pizza again before I rewatched Phantom Thread or Inherent Vice. I've never gone back to those films. So yeah, maybe someday. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? I softly recommend it. For Paul Thomas Anderson fans, sure. But when it comes to like the actual story, I found it fizzled out towards the end, but when it comes to the craft of the film, I really loved so much of how this film came together. So yeah, I softly recommend it. And third question, what score would I give it out of 10? I did enjoy Licorice Pizza, but I didn't love it. I did enjoy the first half of this film a lot more than I did the second half. So I'm gonna give Licorice Pizza a score of 6 out of 10. But as always guys, it's just one bloke's opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts on Licorice Pizza. Whatever you have to say, let me know in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed this video, help me out by hitting that thumbs up button. For more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click subscribe, and if you want to follow me on any of my socials, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, it's all in that video description down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Airfield, and I'll see you next time.